Can a life of lies and deceit truly come back to haunt you, even in the next life? This is not merely a question, but a stirring meditation on the mysteries of karma, presented through a story whispered across generations in temple halls. This karmic tale, treasured by monks and preserved in sacred records, tells of one woman's journey from cunning and privilege to suffering and redemption. A spiritual parable meant to reveal the invisible threads that bind actions to consequences. But this story isn't just about punishment. Within it lies a powerful lesson about karma, rebirth, and the unexpected grace that can arise from compassion, even after lifetimes of misdeed. Once, in a bustling town wrapped in the folds of green hills, there lived a woman whose beauty and gracious demeanor won her friends and admirers wherever she went. Velvet words rolled off her tongue, her laughter soft and melodic. To the villagers, she seemed the very portrait of virtue, always dressed well, always smiling, always ready with a kind greeting. Yet, behind closed doors, a different reality unfurled. She was clever, intelligent, quick-thinking and resourceful, but she wielded those gifts with the coldness of calculation. Her warmth to friends was a mask, carefully worn and just as easily removed. She spent her days plotting how to spin webs of deception, imitating kindness with the sole aim of satisfying her own desires. Some she tricked out of money, widows and the elderly who placed innocent trust in her, believing she was their ally. Others she ensnared with promises of love or business, only to leave them ruined and embarrassed. She amassed wealth swiftly, acquiring land, jewels, and admirers. But it all came at the expense of those she had wronged. When confronted, her dismissiveness was chilling. "If they're foolish enough to trust me, they deserve it," she would mock, her laughter echoing off the polished walls of her estate. Morality, she proclaimed, was just a tool for the naive. "Life is for the taking," she would say, even as the eyes of her victims, clouded in sorrow, stared helplessly after her. The town soon whispered, but her charm was spellbinding, and she always managed to turn suspicion away or make another dark bargain to avoid trouble. Day after day, year after year, the trail of pain behind her grew, but in the twilight of her life, it seemed she would escape all reckoning. Then, in her 43rd year, as the town prepared for spring festivities, the woman fell suddenly ill. Even the finest doctors couldn't explain the sharp decline. Her strength failed, her wealth could not shield her, and her cleverness was useless against fate. As she lay on her silk-covered bed, not a hint of remorse touched her heart. She passed away surrounded by luxurious possessions, her secrets safe, her misdeeds unpunished, so it appeared. At her funeral, the air was charged with unease. The townsfolk attended, some out of duty, others out of curiosity. Yet strange signs began to stir. Dogs from the streets, usually wary of crowds, gathered restlessly around the perimeter of her house, barking and growling through the night. Even her family felt chills as shadows flickered across windows and the scent of burning incense refused to linger. During the rituals, a local monk, well-respected and learned, paused beside her casket. He spoke softly to her relatives. "The suffering she caused has not ended with her death. What is sown in life cannot be buried with the body." His warning unsettled many, but time marched on. A few days later, as the town resumed its rhythm, a scruffy street dog appeared at the gate of her once grand home. The dog, thin and covered in dust, circled the property, whining pitifully, yet never approaching too close. The animal became a fixture, a silent, restless presence. Neighbors watched curiously as the dog seemed uncannily aware, avoiding certain faces, especially those the woman had cheated. Some days when a former victim walked by, the animal would cower, tail tucked, eyes haunted. At other times it would sit for hours by the gate, as though remembering some long-lost belonging. As whispers began to mount, the family grew anxious and reached out to a renowned spiritual master who lived on the edge of town. They asked him if these events might have meaning beyond coincidence. The master, renowned for his deep meditation and intuitive insight, visited the home. Seated quietly, he sank into a profound meditative state. After a time, he opened his eyes and spoke gravely. "The woman," he said, "was born with great blessings, but she repaid fortune with harm. Her greed, lies, and callousness created powerful bonds of karma, entwining her to suffering even beyond death. Her spirit, driven by unfulfilled debts and the weight of guilt, has entered the life of that street dog. This is not random. It is a direct rebirth shaped by the force of actions. His voice echoed with compassion but certainty. Those who recalled the woman's victims could not help but shudder at the dog's behavior, flinching from certain people, moving with a mix of pride and dread as it patrolled its former home. The knowledge spread throughout the town. To some, the dog became a symbol of unease, to others, an object of pity. Some left scraps of food nearby, unsure whether feeding the animal was act of mercy or complicity. The family especially struggled, with guilt mixing with fear, and the lines between the worlds of human and animal blurring before their eyes. Time wore on. The dog's life was harsh, often chased off by angry villagers, shivering on rainy nights, scavenging for scraps of rotten food. Its fur became patchy, its belly shrank, and its eyes held the unmistakable sadness of a creature that had known comfort and lost it. But through this suffering, a strange kind of transformation began. Gone was the arrogance and grace of the woman's former existence. In its place grew a quiet endurance, a silent bearing of pain, as if some lesson was taking root deep inside the soul of the animal. One afternoon, as the sun dipped low and the town settled into a gentle hush, a monk returning to his temple noticed the dog lying by the roadside, too weak even to rise. The monk's heart opened with compassion. Gathering the trembling creature in his arms, he carried it to the temple, a place of quiet, healing, and shelter. There he washed its wounds, set out a simple bowl of rice, and sat by its side chanting gentle mantras meant to calm and purify. Even in this form, he whispered, "Compassion can heal the karmic chain. Let go of your anger, your pain. Accept kindness not out of cunning, but from the heart." Under the monk's gentle care, the dog's condition improved. In the still of the temple, surrounded by prayer and humble acts of kindness, the creature finally found moments of solace. For the first time since its rebirth, the dog was shown love not because of merit or manipulation, but as an act of selfless compassion, something entirely new to the soul residing within. The days grew slow, but peaceful. The dog, though never fully recovering, found rest in the monk's presence, and its final moments were spent not in agony, but in tranquility. When at last the dog passed on a quiet evening, the monk gathered his fellow disciples. He performed a ritual of release, chanting for the soul's liberation and a passage to a better life. In that moment, the suffering of two lifetimes, the woman's and the dog's, melded into a prayer for forgiveness and renewal. The villagers, hearing of the dog's fate, contemplated what they had witnessed. The cycle had come full circle, from arrogance to humility, harm to healing, cruelty to compassion. Thus, echoing across temple walls and into the hearts of those who listened, the Buddhist lesson is laid bare. No one escapes karma, not even through death. Our actions, great or small, weave patterns that will eventually come back to shape us, life after life. Yet no rebirth, not even the lowest, is beyond redemption. Transformation is possible, even for the most troubled soul, when met with true compassion and forgiveness. So looking inward, what do we make of this story? Do you believe that our actions, whispered in this life, can echo like thunder into the next? If today's choices might shape tomorrow's fate, how would you change your words, your behavior, your heart? In the dance of karma, is it not wise to plant seeds of kindness, to choose compassion over self-interest and honesty over deceit? Let this tale be more than a warning. It is a gentle invitation to reflect, to grow, and to seek the mercy that lies in our power to give. And if this story has stirred something within you, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who believes in the enduring power of karma, so its lesson, like the river of cause and effect, may continue to flow through many lives and generations yet to come.